Hey guys, block 4, lesson 11 now. This one is going to be more so for the coaches and understanding a couple things. We're talking about butterfly guard. I'll demonstrate a few little things here, but this is a point that I would like. It's in lesson format, but this is a point that I would like graphically demonstrated to students. I'm going to give you a couple little drills here as to how and when we'll use these. So the thing about butterfly guard, we need to understand the trigger and when we would use butterfly guard. I think one of the biggest problems for most athletes is they don't understand when it applies and when it doesn't apply. I'm going to try to make it pretty basic for everybody. When do you go into a butterfly guard? There needs to be an immediate shift. So whatever your approach to jiu-jitsu is at the moment that you're involved in it, it needs to kind of change a little bit when you see a couple of things. First thing that I want to talk about is combat base, or one knee up, one knee down. So when one of our opponents kind of comes at us like this and we're sitting, we really only have a couple of things that we can do right here. We can wrestle up, which should be, that'll be a block in all in itself that we're going to talk about. Wrestling up and hitting our ankle picks and how we're working from the seated guard. I believe that's block 2, if I'm not mistaken. Our seated guard is still at play here, but something that we need to understand is that we can shift into our primary guard structure. Our very first and best guard structure that we're ever going to use is going to be butterfly guard. When that is applicable is when somebody presents this particular attack posture to us, when they have one knee up, or one knee down, or both knees down, and they're not in a standing position. So how I would shift into that would be, now I see combat base, now I'm gonna shoot in and I'm gonna work into my butterfly guard. So our shots, how we're gonna set our butterfly guard. I've talked to you about this before. All of my coaches understand the importance of the guard set as a launch pad for our guard. If we don't get to our set, then we generally don't ever get deep into our guard progress at all. So what we're looking for is we're looking for this opening down here. We're looking for whether it be with one knee up or both knees down. If she's got both knees down, I'm still aiming for this area under here to get my elevators up underneath. With one knee up, the same can be said. So what I'm looking for my guard set is I want to get a catch around the back. So however I gotta get there, I need to shoot up underneath and I need to start closing that distance with my opponent. And notice right out of the gates, as a default, I started to catch this hand. This is always going to be their post hand. I want to try to control this the minute that I shoot into my guard, because now looking back at lessons 8, 9, and 10, we're talking about those quick sweeps. These all come into play now as long as I can catch here or I can catch here. So we need to know that whichever hand shoots, the opposite hand needs to start working on that far side post, because we're going to have limited availability to get to it after we start leaning back. So our butterfly guard starts sitting up, which is technically a phase 1. So if we get presented with this and we're hand fighting, whatever we're doing here, I want to shoot and try to get up underneath my opponent, get my elevators in there so that I can start laying back and affecting their base. So the drill that we could do is right here. I just shot in. Okay, now we're going to start trying to lay back and lift our opponent and start trying to work inside of here and generate some elevation. Okay, so that could be the first way we would deal with this. Partners are going to start. They're going to just sit right here. We're going to just say shot, shoot, and they're going to work to a tilted butterfly as quickly as they possibly can. Being up underneath here and going for double underhooks is okay for your set. That would be another set that we're going to talk about in a second. But generally, getting up underneath and getting tilted and starting to turn up underneath our opponent is going to be the best way to start launching into sort of our butterfly sweep from right here, getting them off of their feet. So our tilted butterfly entry is going to be the first one. So here, okay, I'm going to shoot and start to tilt as I shoot in, and notice this butterfly is already working on her up underneath here. Now I've caught this hand, and that's my entry for my dominant side. So then we want to do it on our off side. So my opponent's going to switch knees. I'm going to scoot in, and I can put my hand on the mat if I need to get a big scoot, because the catch is the most important part. That stops them from backing away. Shot. In I go. Catch them. Now this hand's going to start working on here. We're going to start trying to pull them back and show some elevation, and then simply sit them back down. Okay. So again, this side, shot. Work on the wrist. Show some elevation, and then kind of sit them back down. When I say show some elevation, what I'm talking about is demonstrate that they understand how to get the person up and off of their feet. Now from both knees down, we can still do the same thing, either a dominant side entry, a weak side entry, or we can shoot doubles. What I find a lot of times for no-gi, it's a little safer to shoot a double. Boom. Now I'm locking my hands around back, and from here now I can start to transition to my tilted side, and that would be the next drill. So double shot, boom. Lock, hand goes down, tilt to get to a tilted, demonstrate a capacity to elevate somewhat. Second drill, double shot. Now we're going weak side. Switch, demonstrate your elevation capability, settle back in. Very important that we understand the two distinct variations of the shot when it comes to butterfly guard and setting our butterfly guard and when we're supposed to do it and when we're not. Again, either both knees down is the indicator, or one up, one down as a secondary indicator on when we should go. Lastly, we need to make the distinction for the youth opponents that when opponent is standing on their feet, we are to be operating in phase one, which would have been one of the earlier blocks of instruction that we're talking about. Here, we're working in our phase one of our guard structure. Another good drill, coaches in particular, if you're watching this, let's do this and make sure that our athletes understand when the trigger is. The second that they drop, we should be now scooting forward, trying to set our butterfly guard in one of those aforementioned techniques that we talked about a minute ago. So that's another good drill to do. And in fact, I would like all those to be done if possible. We're here, they drop. Now we're gonna start working our shot. If they drop to both knees, which sometimes can happen, here they drop to both, now we're making our shot, okay? Maybe a situation comes up where our opponent is standing, but they're so dadgum low. Knees are bent either at a 45 or maybe even better. They're super, super low, and at any moment in time, they could drop. As soon as they drop, we want to make our entry, okay? So that's another good one. From a high position to a medium position to an already kneeling position, and we can start to work there. But the important part about this is to understand the distinction in timing from when to switch to your seated guard to your butterfly guard is when one of those knees at best or at minimum hits the ground.